Hey, welcome back to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Jen.
I've been a chef for 10 years.
And I'm a registered dietitian. We've all heard the saying, farm to table. But what if the conversation was table to farm?
Join Jen and I as we sit down with ag experts to dig in and find out more about North Dakota agriculture. All right, welcome back to Common Ground North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
I'm Jen.
And we're back for another episode.
Yeah, I'm so excited about our upcoming guest.
Yes.
Tamara Hines with the North Dakota Pork Council.
Because who doesn't like pork? Let's be honest.
I love pork. We have it once a week at our house.
Yes.
So it'll be fun. I'm excited to see what's all new with pork.
I want to know.
What's happening in the industry.
I just eat it. I've never raised a pig,
great.
But I love ground pork tenderloin, pork chops.
Yes.
Bacon.
Who doesn't
Bacon's
like
funny
bacon?
Because as a chef, when doing dinners, you'll get guests' preferences on what they eat. And so you'll have non-dairy or gluten-free, or my favorite is when I get vegans and vegetarians, but then they'll have a little note that says, but I eat bacon. And it happens all the time. Yes. Everyone loves bacon.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
So, hey, let's find out what's
Let's
new
find
with
out
Tamara.
more. Yes.
Welcome, Tamara.
Hi, Tamara. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Good. We're
Good.
happy to have you. We've tried talking to you a couple times. I think we had a spring blizzard that
Oh my gosh.
made it not
Right.
We
possible.
tried twice last year, and
Yes.
the weather interrupted us both times. So
Man.
Yes.
And you're coming from New Salem?
yes,
Awesome.
I always make a joke that the North Dakota Pork Council was headquartered in the same town as the world's largest Holstein cow.
I know, right? I was just thinking that.
You
I'm
need
like,
a big pig up there, right?
Yes.
Can you make that happen?
I don't know. I don't know how they ever got a bunch of farmers and small town people to go for a 72 foot Holstein
Yeah,
cow.
I would have liked to hear that meeting, right?
I
too.
would have loved to visit with those people.
Oh,
So are you
hilarious.
from New Salem?
I am not. I'm originally from Wing, and I grew up on a large beef cattle operation there. So,
Okay.
Okay.
and we moved to New Salem in 2009. So I farmed and ranched with my brother and my parents for about 15 years. And then I got married and I had kids and decided I couldn't work 80 hours a week with my
Ugh.
brother and my dad anymore. So we kind of made a shift and we came over here for a couple of reasons. The 4-H program in the county, and because they have wrestling. I married a wrestler. So
Okay.
my boys have all been wrestlers. I've got a couple state champs that have come
Yay.
through.
Wow.
And then just the size of the school, we were one thing about New Salem, when people co-op with us, they come to our place. When I lived in Wing, when we co-op, we went there.
Yes. That's kind of nice for
Well,
convenience.
Right.
Right. My stepson went from 3 kids in his class to 27 kids in his class.
Wow, that's
Oh.
a big jump.
That's a huge
Yeah.
jump.
So yeah. And then we enjoy only being 25 minutes from Walmart and
Yes.
45 minutes from the airport. So
That is nice for sure. And so now let's talk about your job. You're the executive director of the North Dakota Pork Council. So what does that all involve?
So actually, this is my 10th year now. So primarily my mission is to represent the pig farmers of North Dakota and promote pork and pig farming in North Dakota. That's primarily my job. I administer the checkoff funds that are given to us, that are collected at national and turned back to our state.
Okay.
So that is, and then I organize our board of directors, and we have 10 board of directors from kind of all segments of the industry and all areas of the state. And so we have 4 meetings a year, and we have an annual meeting, and our annual meeting is going to be in Fargo this year on January 30th. So we're excited about that,
Nice.
having it in conjunction with the North Dakota Livestock Association with their summit.
Okay.
Oh,
That's coming up.
that's a great
Yeah, it
idea.
is. Yeah. So
So how
that's
many pork farmers are you representing? How many do we have in North Dakota?
Well, we've been hard to pinpoint an exact number on that, because we know, like, the larger the farms, the more we know about them.
Okay.
Sure.
But there's a lot of farms that we would call backyard farms, or a lot of, in the 4-H and FFA programs in our state,
Sure.
and people show them, and so it's kind of hard to pinpoint an exact number on that. So we have about 10 large fairly large operations within the state.
Okay.
And then the rest, I'd say we probably have, I would guess, anywhere from 100 to maybe even more backyard type operations. So,
and when you say large, how many pigs are on those?
so the largest, so it's pretty common to have about 6,000 sows.
Wow.
Oh my.
So our largest one is up in Candu, and it's actually privately owned.
Okay.
By a family, and they are. It's very interesting because they own their own trucking business, they own their own feed business, they own the barns, they own the pigs.
Wow.
So they got the farrow to finish there in some respects. So it's and then they sell a lot of iso-weans as well. So it's an interesting one because it's, the biggest one and it's privately held.
Just a second. Iso-weans, should I know what that is?
And farrow.
Yeah, let's break it down. Break it down.
No. But iso-weans, that's what we call, so primarily North Dakota, we're referred to as a sow state.
Okay.
I'm going to have to come up with another trivia question, but
okay.
we're considered a sow state. And we have a lot of farrowing operations here. And they load up these iso-weans, so they're weaned pigs, and they load them on a truck, and they take them to destinations closer to processing to be finished. So like a lot of pigs go to Iowa, southern Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, because we don't have a processing plant in North Dakota.
Sure. So they're easier to transport at that size.
Well, it's much easier to haul, or much more cost effective. I don't know if easier is the word.
Cost effective. You're right.
It's much more cost effective to haul 1,500 iso-weans in a semi than it is, 150 or 175, 280 pigs.
Yes.
So that's where we're at. And I think that's probably not going to change in the near future unless someone would decide to put a processing facility in the state or in the area. So most of our pigs are processed in Sioux Falls and Austin.
Okay. So farrowing is like when they have piglets, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So how old are those pigs at that age?
Around a year.
Around a year.
Okay. The generation cycle with pigs is much faster than it is with other species because their gestation is only we always have this 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. So compare that to a cow that's, 285 days gestation.
Wow.
They can actually have more than 1 litter in a year.
Yep.
Wow.
So whereas a cow and a horse, only once a year.
Okay.
And how many piglets do they usually have?
12 to 14. There's kind of a big push out there to get as many as you can at one time, but there's also some trade-offs with that too. So the industry has changed so much. Like it's not as labor. The labor isn't as physically demanding as it once was. Now we're more high tech. Now we have these, big barns with apps on our phones that alert us to things like, air temperature, air quality, feeders that needed to be filled, and it's pressing buttons to make that happen.
Gosh.
We've had raised, when our kids were younger, we raised show pigs for our kids to show. And my family enjoyed that. But once they graduated from high school, I did not enjoy the work as much because it was pretty old school.
Yeah.
In with a 5-gallon bucket and out with a pitch,
Yep.
But that doesn't happen now at these bigger facilities. It's just, everything's kind of automatic. There's not too much shoveling and not too much carrying a feed pail in those places.
So, Tamara, are there different breeds of pigs that we're raising, or what types of breeds do we raise in North Dakota?
Well, like in the late 80s, early 90s, we kind of went through a metamorphosis in the swine business because instead of having like breeds, traditional seed stock sort of breeds where people would decide that they wanted Durocs or decided that they wanted Yorkshires, these genetic companies came and they combined all the breeds to try and get the best attributes out of each breed.
Okay.
And then offered these genetic lines to these commercial operations like the bigger ones that we see. So now we're kind of where the breeding stock is with the specific to the breeds is more of a niche market. It's that show pig thing where people are raising them still by breeds. But in the commercial side, we don't see that. And 99% of the commercial pigs that are produced are white.
Okay.
So you, if you see one that's not white, it's probably was raised in a whole different environment.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
What we
interesting to
typically
know.
see on the commercial side. If you see one that's not white, that's not the one that, that's not where the pork chops you buy at Walmart are coming from a white pig.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
99% of the time.
So 99%. All right.
Interesting. So what are the current trends like in pork demand, supply, and how has it changed over the years?
Well, so it's interesting because everyone seems to remember pork, the other white meat.
Yeah.
Ad campaign, if you're a marketing person, I think it's in the top 10 or top 25 of recognizable things. And we haven't used it for 30 years or more. But that was how we differentiated ourselves from, as a red meat, we differentiated ourselves from the bad beef that was being demonized by nutritionists in that era as causing cancer, high cholesterol, all the bad things. And we were all supposed to eat more chicken. So the pork said, well, we're kind of like chicken.
Right.
So all of a sudden, pick the other white meat. So, but we haven't used that for years. But now what we're seeing is we're really trying to, I was interested because you mentioned pork as a ground pork.
Yeah.
So love ground pork.
We had a really big push about using ground pork. And that's something that's not very popular up here. Like a lot of people, pork burgers is kind of a thing in other areas, and we don't see that as much. So ground pork has been a big push. And now we're really pushing, of course, pork is the most widely consumed meat in the world, right? But in the United States, we kind of think of pork as pork chops with potatoes and green beans or roast. It's like the main thing.
Right.
So we're really doing a push now at the national level to pork as an ingredient, using pork in your tacos, pork in your stir fries, pork in burrito bowls. So using pork as maybe more like how people would traditionally use chicken. So
Right.
well,
and
so there's been a big push for that.
Ground pork is so versatile. And the flavor is
Yes.
delicious. You can take it to the Italian side. It can be nice in stir fries. I love it with like a little bit of soy sauce, ginger, garlic. It's beautiful.
Best attributes of pork is that it does take other seasonings very well, you know, so you can really make it. It's very versatile to put into any kind of dish, no matter which direction you're going, or Mexican, if you're going Indian food. I mean, it's just like,
now you're making us hungry.
I know. Talk about food. I mean, I do it all the time.
Well, you own breakfast. Pork owns the breakfast.
They do.
There's
no competition there.
For sure. So like you talk about like the nutrition qualities, and as a dietitian, of course, like we promote that as like a lean source of protein too. And like for working with athletes, like I don't let them forget about like, hey, how about pork chops? How about a pork loin? And it's so easy to make. But yeah, like the ground pork, I love to use it in like lasagnas.
Right.
That takes a good like flavoring. Like you said, it takes on that flavoring. And I think it's a good alternative that maybe people haven't thought of before, but I think it's wonderful. My husband always notices when we use pork. He's like, oh, this is so good.
Takes it to the next level.
Yeah. So the trend is like trying to promote it more as like ground
as an
pork.
ingredient. I like that.
Yeah. Are there other like trends like with pork that you're seeing like nationwide or North Dakota specifically?
Probably not from the consumer side.
Okay.
Thing about the pork industry, we always seem to have the challenges, or if anyone is in the industry is going to have a challenge with animal welfare issues or, animal rights issues. Seems to be the pork industry is easy to pick on. So we work pretty diligently with a lot of different groups to make sure that we're getting our story out. And same with the sustainability issue. We're doing it. We actually have a vice president of sustainability at National Pork Board.
Oh, that's cool.
We always try to be the leader in terms of that. Well, it's kind of funny how sustainability and animal welfare kind of crisscross, because we've actually, we're more sustainable when the modern system with having pigs inside of barns, but yet that is what, we've reduced our carbon footprint by doing that. But yet that has made a lot of animal welfare people unhappy because they feel like pigs shouldn't be in barns. They should be outside. So it's kind of how they intercede there. So I find that interesting interesting when I'm watching that all unfold.
That is interesting.
Right, because then you're making the other people mad when you're doing, okay, I see
I would
how that's
always
hard.
like, and then you live in North Dakota, you're like, yeah, your animals need to be
Yeah,
inside.
well, they want to be inside. It's
yeah, they want
cold
to be
outside.
inside. So speaking of that, like, okay, is this a fact, Tamara? Pigs don't sweat.
That is a fact.
They
So
don't
people always
sweat.
tell me, well,
Yeah, they don't.
Pigs should be outside because they like to play in the mud. Well, I don't know. I always get a kick out of, I don't know who asked the pigs and how they know these answers to be true, but pigs don't necessarily like to play in the mud, but to stay cool on a hot day, that's what they need to do to survive.
Right.
Yes.
Because don't sweat. So to stay cool, they usually would dig in the dirt or if there was water, they would be in the mud. And that's so that's kind of an interesting thing. I'm not sure, like, if you decide if they're happy or sad because of that.
I don't know.
Well, we don't know. I feel like I got all my information about pigs from Charlotte's Web. Okay, that's all I know.
I mean,
and I feel like most Americans we don't know.
No,
they're not all that cute and that well behaved as they are in the book.
So you feel like sharing with consumers real information about what's going on behind the scenes, is that a big part of your job?
Yeah, and I think that sometimes at my job, I get kind of consumed with I call them the noisy minority because it feels like it's everyone. You sit at these meetings and you hear all these things and you're like, it's like depressing. And then when you see some data, it's like, well, really, it's only 4, 6, 8% of the population.
Yeah.
And I think most people just want to know that it's okay to eat pork because they've been raised responsibly. And I think that I'm pretty confident in saying that happens. Like, people who are pig farmers are proud caretakers. And I also see, like, a lot of times I've seen people say, well, because we have a foreign workforce that helps us because the labor situation is in the swine business is no different than it is anywhere else. And I always hear this, well, no, they don't care about our community. They don't care about their environment. They don't care because they're just getting paid a wage. Well, I've seen that to be not true so many times. I actually have a person on my board of directors that is from Moldova, and he's been here for a long time, and he volunteers his time to be on the board, and the work that they do for the industry is just amazing. So I would never say that he doesn't care about his community or the industry because he is the first one to volunteer to do anything. So so there's some great, we have run and I've met some really great people in this industry, and they haven't all been U.S. citizens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's a lot of people that have started in the swine business. There's a lot of room to move up in towards management and stuff without a lot of. You don't need a 4-year degree if it's one business where if you start at the bottom, there's opportunity to work your way to the top. So, and I think people kind of miss that. They think, a pig farm and jobs in pig farming is just pushing pigs around and making sure they're fed. Well, there's a lot of jobs in pig farming. So,
and there's opportunity.
There's a lot of opportunities.
So you, on these larger pig farms, how many people are employed there?
So we usually figure about 20 for a 6,000 sow barn. We would figure about 20 people. It would take, to in a farrowing barn situation, it would take about 20 people. That's kind of the numbers that we have thrown around. So,
that's less than I would have thought.
Yeah. It's a lot of automation.
Right. With the technology. Okay.
Right. Well, I think that what we're seeing in North Dakota is that nationwide, there's kind of there's a need for raising pigs in areas that don't have a lot of other pigs. So in North Dakota, I think is going to be looked at as a place of opportunity for some of these farms to come in and build their sow farms. So by doing that, they can decide exactly how they want these animals raised, what kind of health protocols they want them to follow.
Okay.
So the healthiest pigs that they can get to their finishing operations. So, and there's just so many pigs in such a small area, in areas like southern Minnesota and Iowa, that they're just looking to like expand our areas out. And since we're so far away from processing, like we talked about earlier, I think we're going to see some opportunities for some people wanting to build sow farms in North Dakota. But most of those opportunities will be in the eastern third of the state because of the distances from the other farms. But that and the accessibility to corn and soybeans Now with the processing plant, crushing plant, the soybean crushing plant, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for soybean meal that we didn't have before.
Okay.
So there's going to be more opportunities for our industry to grow.
And that's what the pigs are eating?
Pigs' diet is primarily ground corn and then soybean oil with like vitamins and minerals mixed in with it.
So they're all connected.
Yes.
All our agriculture friends.
Yeah.
That's what we find out. Like,
you figure that Cass County is the largest soybean producing county in the United States. So I tell people that all the time and they're mystified. Like they just can't believe that's true, because they think Iowa, corn and soybeans, right?
Right.
And having that ability to provide meal locally like that could be a real game changer, especially in the swine business. Well, it's all of agriculture. Our margins are thin, right? So anywhere we can save,
Right.
Your pennies there, it all adds up. So
right.
So who do you see getting into the swine business? Is it people that are ranchers? Is it farmers?
Well, there's two things I see. Like there are, as far as the finishing side in North Dakota, which I think there's a lot of opportunity for. I see like the southeastern part of the state, they're a little bit closer to Austin. They're a little bit closer to Sioux Falls for them to have some finishing in that area and their abundance of feed. And then it kind of helps in a way. You can work with what we call an integrator, like can be a contract grower where you can like kind of have an off-farm job on your farm.
Okay.
Bring young people back to the farm. And I think it's interesting because there's a lot of negativity about contract growing out there sometimes. And a lot of it's maybe holdovers from years gone by where maybe it wasn't the best situation. But we wouldn't penalize any young family or any young farmer that came back to farm with his dad that went and got a job as an agronomist at the local ag co-op. We wouldn't think anything less of that. But then we kind of look down because being a contract grower is you're not really your own boss. So we've got a double standard going there that we probably can work to change. And we'll see growth in that area, when the time is right as far as market conditions and costs and things like that. And I just think everyone's kind of looking for diversification, and the price of land makes it hard to go out and buy more acres to farm more acres.
Yeah.
So I will maybe see some, and equipment besides that.
Yep.
I think we might see some increase in that, but then we have a whole lot of farmers that have never raised livestock before that probably need some help from us to get the right training and stuff. But and as far as sow farms go, I mean, there's opportunity for farmers to make money by selling the land and then using the manure in their farm systems, maybe not having anything to do with the pigs per se, but being able to work within that closed loop system using that swine manure as fertilizer for their farm.
Okay.
And having that barn close by for them to be able to do that. So, because we're talking about, it's just so, we're talking about $20 million facilities.
Wow.
I mean, it costs like
$20 million for those large ones?
Like for a 6,000 sow barn would cost us about $20 million to build.
Oh, wow. That's an investment.
That's why you don't see them everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darn, I was thinking we could start our own.
Our little side business.
A little side business.
We'll start saving.
I mean, maybe we could do like 4-H, with the kids.
Right? There's like plenty of people that can help you do that if that's what you want to do.
So,
are you ready for halftime? I feel like you've given us so much information.
Oh my gosh, right? I could talk about pigs all day. All right, Tamara, we're getting our boards ready. So what we'll do is you'll ask us a question, and then we're going to write our answers, and then we're going to show you and tell you what we have. And then really we're trying to win our golden corn trophy, which I won last time.
It's coveted.
It is coveted. So we'll see who wins pork trivia. All right, Tamara, what's your first question for us?
First question is, cooking temperatures for pork have changed over the years. What is the optimum temperature for cooking pork degree of doneness today?
Don't you
like
feel
the minimum?
Because most people overcook it. Do you agree?
Most 100% I agree.
They
most people
overcook it.
So for a pork chop, let's say, her dietitian brain is functioning. I can working overtime there. I see.
I'm like, optimal or like USDA?
So
I should know this, and now I'm second guessing
temperature?
myself.
What is the recommended temperature for unmissed for a pork chop?
So, and Tamara, who changed that? Like, who decides that?
Well, that was a big push from National Pork because back in the day, we used to want to cook our pork to at least 160 degrees because of the trichinosis issue.
Yeah.
That back when pigs were all raised outside.
Right.
We moved all the pigs inside of a barn. All of a sudden, we realized we don't have trichinosis anymore.
Right.
Because we don't have pigs rooting around in the ground.
So then you got him to lower it. And now we have a way better product because it's not as dry.
Right.
Okay, so
this is what I cook it till 150.
I said 145.
Okay. The minimum is 145, right?
140, 145, yeah.
So and it's okay to be a little bit of pink. I think people get scared of the little bit of pink.
It's okay.
Pork is different than chicken.
It is.
We kind of, that's true. When we tried to do this cook it like a steak thing, but the beef guys didn't like that. So we had to stop. We stopped doing that. But yeah, like I actually like a medium rare kind of steak. And my pork chops, I don't want medium rare. I want them like medium. Like just a little pink is fine for me. But when they get to 160, I feel they're
dry. Too dry.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, if you
there's not enough marbling in pork to compensate for overcooking.
Yeah, so go buy a meat. Listeners, go buy a meat thermometer.
Yes, meat thermometers.
Yes.
Food safety.
Because you'll be surprised how they look when you take them out at 140 or 145.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you won. I cooked mine to 150.
I bet it's still good.
It is.
I bet it is too. But I have a T-shirt that says 140 degrees, please. And people always, I have to be careful when I wear it because if I wear it in the summer, people are like, are you crazy?
What?
Why would you want it that hot? I'm like, it's pork.
It's pork. All right. What's your next question?
My next question, I'm going to do another meat question.
Okay.
But we talk about cooking, grilling, smoking pork butts, but where does the pork butt cut actually come from?
Is it?
It's going back to, I feel like I should have.
I know. Good questions. What did you say, Jen?
I put the back.
I said shoulder. But are those two?
Shoulder's right.
I'm really failing at my nutrition questions.
So why do we do
that? I feel
that?
like the chef is like.
Why do we say
I don't
sounds
really
better? Pork butt?
Actually, I did read the history one time, but I don't remember the details. But
Okay.
it goes
Pork
back
butt.
many years. So.
Pork butt, pork shoulder.
Same thing. They're both part of a leg.
Yes.
Right? All right.
Are we going to do the third question? We will.
I know, we
just
will.
For fun.
Just for fun. See if I actually get one right.
So we can do, let's see. I gave away too many of my questions when I was talking. So.
Well, it's okay if it's easy.
Okay. What state raises the most pigs?
She didn't tell us that.
I'm going to guess, though.
Me too. I said Texas.
Iowa.
Texas isn't even close.
Well,
I thought that they were just
wild pigs.
I mean,
maybe.
they don't sweat, so I thought maybe
I see your train.
they could handle the heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Iowa is the right answer, and then Minnesota and North Carolina are in that top.
Where do we rank in there?
26th.
Okay.
Not very.
Okay.
So
Interesting. There is room for growth.
Oh yeah, especially because we have low pig population, low people population, and we have a lot of our pig density is pretty low, which means we have a lot of wide open spaces. So
that was great. Well, thank you for all the information. Before you go, we'd like to hear what's your favorite part about being involved in North Dakota agriculture?
Well, I would have to say that I really do enjoy the people that are part of North Dakota agriculture. I value the work ethic that they have. And the ability to problem solve, which I think is kind of a lost art these days. And I think that the ability to just roll your sleeves up and get the job done when you have to get it done. And I think we see that more in agriculture than I do in some other industries that I'm involved with. So I would have to say the people and, the Dowd legacy, a lot of them, they have third, fourth, fifth generation farms in our state. And I think you can see that come through in many areas. So I would say the people is my favorite part of North Dakota agriculture.
That's awesome. I
Yes.
feel like we hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people. We have good people here in North
We
Dakota.
really do. We really do.
That's why we put up with the weather.
That's right. It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off.
It is.
Well, it's so good to
Thank you
visit
so
with
much,
you
Tamara.
today, and we appreciate all your information.
You bet. Thanks for your time today, and I appreciate talking about North Dakota pork.
Yay.
Bye, Tamara.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to
gosh.
change this to you.
I'm going to go home and put some pork tenderloin in a crock pot.
Oh, it sounds so
Right?
good, right?
And maybe just do 2 so I have extra for sandwiches.
You know, that's what I did the other day.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. I shouldn't take credit. Zach put 2 pork loins on the grill, and we had them for leftovers for days. But I love doing that. It's easy.
Yes.
It's nutritious. You can just throw a veggie and like a sweet potato together. And so
Perfect.
that was fun. I
that
didn't
was
know
fun.
some of the facts that she told us. Like,
Had no idea it was such an investment to have a pig farm. That's crazy.
yeah. And like, there's room for growth. So
Yes.
that's cool too.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll move up from 26th.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Never know.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and tune in next time for Common Ground North Dakota podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Thanks for tuning in to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, send us your questions about North Dakota agriculture by visiting our website. You might win a prize. We'll see you in the next episode of the Common Ground North Dakota podcast.